Thanks for joining today in this episode of BusinessAnywhere.io's YouTube channel. So we're going to comment or respond to some comments on a previous YouTube video here. This video, you can find it on our YouTube channel. It's do Wyoming LLCs pay 0% income tax? So you can go back and watch that video and get the gist of the video, but we had a comment here that says, thank you. Nobody talks about this side of the conversation. Wyoming LLCs are only good for two things, privacy and charging order protections. If you want tax benefits, you'd have to be taxed as an S-Corp, I believe. I'm not a CPA, so take that for what it's worth. Always consult a professional. So to some extent, this person is correct. Wyoming does have some pretty significant advantages when it comes to privacy and charging order protection. So privacy, because in the state of Wyoming, it is not required to record the members or the manager's names in public records. So if I register an LLC in Wyoming and you choose it to be private, your name will not appear anywhere in public records. So no one, even other governments, could look on the Wyoming Secretary of State website and figure out who owns your LLC. It is absolutely impossible, okay? So that is one benefit of Wyoming. Another is charging order protections. So Wyoming is one of the few states that has a sole remedy of charging order protections against LLC members. So what that means is if you personally are sued, let's say you're sued for $1 million for whatever reason, and the court says, through the discovery process and says, Mr. Smith, what do you own? And you say, well, I own a membership interest in a Wyoming LLC. The only thing they can do is get a charging order against the LLC. And what that means is, as the LLC itself pays out profit distributions to you as a member, you have to pay on that charging order to satisfy that judgment. Now, you can, as the manager of the LLC, choose to withhold profit distributions in a given year, and therefore you would not have an obligation to pay anything out on that charging order. Other states do not do this. Other states have other remedies against LLC members, for example. For example, Florida, if it's a single member LLC, they can actually come in and completely disregard the entity altogether and take the assets in the LLC if it's a single member. Now, if you have two members or more in a Florida LLC, they can't do that because it's treated like a partnership, and then they respect the other partnership's rights in those assets. But single member LLC in Florida, you get sued for $1 million, they can actually just take your assets out of the LLC. Some states, what they can do is they can make the person suing you, or the person that won the judgment, your claimant, they can make them a partner in the LLC, and you end up having an unwanted business partner, and then that unwanted business partner can force a distribution of LLC profits or assets to satisfy it. In some cases, they can actually take the LLC, some states can actually take the LLC away from you and give it to your claimant if the judgment was large enough. So Wyoming does have very clear protections for charging orders because it gives you a lot of flexibility on whether or not you choose to make any profit distributions. So that is two huge benefits for Wyoming LLCs. Wyoming does have no state income tax. However, an LLC is a pass-through. So if you lived in the state of Ohio and you had a Wyoming LLC, you would still have to pay Wyoming state income tax on your profit distribution from that LLC because that's your state residency. So even though Wyoming itself is a zero tax state, it's irrelevant for an LLC because it passes through to you where you actually live. Now, the comment in here says if you want tax benefits, you'd have to be taxed as an S-Corp. There are, under certain circumstances, benefits to be taxed as an S-Corp. There might also be benefits to be taxed as a C-Corp. And then for other people, for example, if you're a non-U.S. person, you can't be taxed as an S-Corp because an S-Corp tax election is only for U.S. citizen shareholders and members. So it's not even possible if you're a non-U.S. person to do an S-Corp tax election. And you would not, if you're a non-U.S. person, you would not want to be a C-Corp because then you would pay U.S. corporate tax, whereas normally an LLC is a pass-through. So if you're a non-U.S. person not living in the U.S., you'd prefer it to be pass-through because then you don't have to, in most cases, you don't have to worry about the tax obligations in the U.S. anyway. So each situation is individual. You have to consider your situation. Do you have employees? Is it just you? Are you a freelancer? Is it a big business? Where do you live? Which state do you live in? Do you live in the U.S.? Do you live out of the U.S.? Are you a U.S. person, non-U.S. person? So there's a lot of variables to consider, but there are significant advantages for Wyoming LLCs beyond the tax situation. So I hope that helps. If you're looking to register an LLC or a corporation, you can find us at businessanywhere.io. We register companies in all 50 states, registered agent service in all 50 states. We also do virtual mailbox service, remote online notary, bank account openings, and company compliance. So until next time, take care.